Hello, everybody, wherever you are in the world. I'm going to be the presenter of Michael de Glanville. He's a writer, breathwork trainer, Watsu practitioner, and massage therapist, creative of the water breath fusion and the warm water Bliss Bubble facility. Michael is British, born in Cyprus, in the island of Cyprus, adventurous explorer of land, seas, and skies. His love of the elements of nature initially led him onto a successful pathway of professional design and competition in France, both in international hang gliding and windsurfing. However, his concerns as a responsible father of three daring young sons led him to retrain in Lyon, qualifying in 1990 as a breathworker and massagist, and further as a Watsu practitioner. Returning to Cyprus in 1999, between 1999 and 2002, returned to Cyprus, Michael and his adored wife, which is me, Viola, now practice, both of us, we practice at Guyana International Center on the beautiful island and the north coast of this beautiful island. So I will make this interview with Michael for you all because it's so much better than just talking. So Michael, tell us about your early love for water. Where did it begin, this dance between you and the element of flow? Was it a memory, a moment, or simply something your soul always knew?
Well, that's an interesting question. And thinking about how it began, I think it was just with repetition. We used to go to the north coast of Cyprus in the weekends to sail and have fun in the sea. And we learnt to swim, me and my brothers, at quite an early age. And we wanted to persuade Dad to let us take the sailing dinghy out sailing, me and my brother. And he said, well, he was prepared to do that, but he wanted to be sure that we'd be able to swim if we got into trouble. And so he challenged us. He said, if you can swim from this side of the harbor to the customs house and turn around and come back swimming without stopping, I'll let you go out with the sailing dinghy. And me and my brother set off, and we did this quite long swim, probably about 400 meters, and got back without stopping. And Dad was really pretty impressed with that. And very soon after that, he let us go out sailing together in the little sailing dinghy. So
So that was around the age 7. What happened between the age and 12 and between 12 and 16?
Well, a few years after that, we started going to England to boarding schools. And one of the things that we found we were doing better than most of the other school kids was swimming. And quickly began to win competition swimming events in the boarding school in the UK. And also, I learnt to do acrobatic diving off the swim pool high board and in springboard competitions, which gave me a love of being in the air, I guess. Anyway, we went through that education in the UK, and I qualified with a degree in engineering at university, and got married and went to live in France. And I became fascinated by flying hang gliders, which began by running off small hills and gliding down. But as the gliders became more high performance, we learned to use thermal upcurrents in the air to stay in the air for longer and longer. And sometimes we'd be up in the air for 4 or 5 hours at a time and climbing to altitudes of perhaps 2,000 meters just below the clouds. I became a national French hang gliding champion, and with the French hang gliding team, traveled to Japan and the USA and all over Europe as captain of the national hang gliding team. However, later on, after witnessing a number of fatal flying accidents, causing the deaths of good friends, I decided that I should pull out of my hang gliding activities. As a father of 3 young sons of my own, I felt that to continue my activity in that sport was not a responsible father's activity. Windsurfing then entered my life as a slightly less dangerous activity, and using the wind and sails, I was able to evolve my fascination and the excitement of using airflow to generate high speeds on the water. So you can see I've always been drawn to the fluid and the flow. Air's fluid, water is fluid, and the unborn baby comes to consciousness enveloped of the warm fluid of the mother's womb. And that's a mystery that moves me always.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So how did Watsu find you? Or how did you find Watsu?
Later on, I retrained as a breath worker and a massagist, and set up a business in France as a professional with using these 2 therapies. And during one breathwork weekend where we were teaching other people about that, I was approached by one of the pupils who offered to give me an introductory Watsu session in the warm pool that was being used by our training. And I was very pleased and impressed by the feelings that I went through as I received that first introductory Watsu session. Then later on in '99, I followed up that discovery by following my own Watsu training with Linda de Lehman in Geneva, and found that the water had always felt like home. On the surface, in it and beneath, and introducing the elements of weightlessness and gravity, free movement of the Watsu therapy opened up a wonderful new boundless area in my brain. So my encounter with Watsu felt less like a discovery and more like a reunion in a natural, effortless love affair. And Watsu seemed to give me as a perfect container, bringing everything together that I enjoyed practicing in. The sensitivity of touch, the sacredness of presence, and the aliveness of the conscious breath. My comfort with bodywork and my deep training in breathwork both made Watsu for me a graceful expansion of who I already was. It's a sacred path where active presence becomes ease, where breath becomes a bridge, and where water becomes wisdom.
Beautiful. So what inspired the creation of the Bliss Bubble? And when did that dream begin to rise?
Well, as an engineer, I'm both creative and practical. And as a human, I've become ecological, committed to sustainability and excess. And in France, I was lucky to have a swimming pool in our garden. And I began experimenting with solar collectors for heating the pool water. And it was quite difficult in that swimming pool to attain the comfortable 35 degrees centigrade for the volume of the water of the pool. And the thought came, well, why heat the entire pool? I'm only going to be actively using a much smaller volume. So I set to and designed an exploratory structure and placed it in the pool to give just enough water space for practicing the Watsu, but requiring only a fifth of the heating energy required to attain the 35 degrees centigrade. And my first attempt with this invention, it was a wooden framework wrapped with a plastic water-containing membrane. It collapsed, came to pieces when only half full, which was pretty humbling, but actually quite revealing. And understanding the situation more clearly, I realized that the structure needed to be supple, thermally efficient, and naturally curved. And it became the following design was aimed around being an inverted semi-global dome. Also, I discovered a perfect material, rolls of 2mm neoprene, covered on both sides with lycra, the material that's used to create wetsuits, nice and soft and warm, kind to the skin. And when I first stepped into the new model, it whispered, "This feels like bliss." And that's where the name Bliss Bubble was born. From there, the mission became clear. I had to make the design experience something portable, accessible, and practical. And just as a massagist therapist carries a table with them when they go to work, my dream was that the Watsu practitioner would be able to carry an easily transportable bliss bubble with him in which to go to work.
After years of practicing breathwork and Watsu, what kind of wisdom has emerged? What has the water whispered to you again, through every breath and every embrace?
Yeah. I feel that many of us who practice Watsu focus on movement, but underlook the importance of the breath. And to me, having a formation in breathwork as a therapy, I know what an essential component the breath can be. And Watsu, I found, when paired with conscious connected breathing, becomes a doorway to a really profound release, both for the practitioner and the receiver. The water becomes not only a medium, but a messenger. And breath becomes not just a rhythm, but a revelation.
This is what you talk many times about the presence, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us more about water breath fusion. How do these sacred elements, air and water, merge in your practice?
For me, water breath fusion is a gentle marriage of two primal body elements, the water and the breath. Breath sustains us, provides our bodies with energy, and activates our brains. When we're immersed in it, the water touches our body everywhere. It warms, supports us, and magically balances out the Earth's gravity as we float in it. We learn to consciously let go of all muscle tension and abandon the need to hold any bodily posture. When we bring the conscious breath into warm water, we open a new realm in our minds of safety, surrender, and somatic healing. So for me, it's not just a method, but water breath fusion is a feeling, a return to our beginnings, a rebirth through breath and buoyancy.
Wow. How heart touching is that? I know about what you're talking because I have experienced this. So what would you recommend to Watsu practitioners today?
Yeah, what my message is to be shared amongst all our practitioners is breathe. Breathe while you're practicing and guide others to breathe with you. And not just be focused on the choreography. Focus on connection. Let your presence be soft and your breath be deep and your awareness be sacred. Breath's not an accessory. It is the doorway. It's what transforms this technique into a healing art.
Indeed, indeed. And tell us, if you could leave one drop of your truth in the hearts of our listeners, what would it be?
My quest with the Bliss Bubble was always to make the practice of Watsu portable, sustainable, and available to be taken with us where it's needed. Just as a massage therapist brings their table, we too can bring the Bliss Bubble to private homes, to spas, and to community pools. But beyond the form of Watsu, it's the intention that matters. Creating with love, sharing with grace, and breathing with reverence. Because when we bring breath into the water, we don't just float the body, we free the soul.
Let's all
Thank
of
you.
us take a deep, deep breath from the nose and another one from the mouth. Another one from the nose. Inhale and exhale from the nose. Inhale and exhale from the nose. Well, Michael will do inhale from the nose and exhale from the mouth, but whatever you want, just inhaling and exhaling from the same ways, it make it always more circular. But whatever your choice of the breath is, it always will bring that bless. And for all of you, the good news is that the Bliss Bubble will be developed further by our dear colleague and friend, Ertan Tufekcioglu. So we will have a little call with Ertan, or little recording maybe, or little news to continue this interview. Thank you so much, Michael, for your wisdom, for your love of water and of the breath. And thank you for all what you have bring to my life in adventure, being in the sky, being in the water, or being in the land. Dear friend, until next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye for now. See you in the water someday. Yeah, it's nice. So here the white floor is resting on the side walls of the Bliss Bubble and creating an artificial floor which I'm standing on. My feet aren't touching the floor of the pool here. We haven't had much sun today. We've only got 34 degrees centigrade, and the next task ahead of us is going to be the thermal insulation of the membrane. Okay, thank you.